This program is for informational and educational purposes only. This program is not a solicitation or recommendation for any investment or security. Investments or securities mentioned in this show may or may not be owned by NEPSIS Advisor Services. NEPSIS Advisor Services is an SEC-registered investment advisor.
Welcome to Journeys with Joni. My name is Joni Rametta, and I'm joined today by my co-host, Mark Clark. How are you, Mark?
I'm awesome, Joni. How are you today?
I'm good. You rocking and rolling today, too?
I'm rocking and rolling. It's awesome. I can't believe we're in smack dab in the middle of August.
Smack dab in the middle of August. My kid's back to school. Your kid's not back to school yet? You got another week or so?
A couple days, I think.
Yeah. Unbelievable how fast this time is going, isn't it?
I know. Don't blink.
Don't blink. Yeah, that's exactly
There's
right.
a country song in there somewhere.
I'm sure. Well, August is our theme for back to. We've talked about going back to the basics and, writing things down. Last week we talked about going back to budgeting, or as you came up with, what was that word you said?
Spending plan.
A spending plan.
I wish I came up with it. I got to give credit to Crown Financial Ministries, crown.org.
We steal a lot of our stuff, don't we?
Yeah, nothing's original.
There's a lot of great ideas out there. So you have to just, it's really about looking for things. And when you start to look for stuff, it's funny how, you find it.
Right.
When you're looking for something, is something that's has a valid position in your head, you try to go find things that sort of back that up. And,
right.
You usually find it. So, last week we talked about budgets and how, a budget or a spending plan isn't about a restriction. It's about having a plan that allows you the freedom to make purchases without guilt and regret. If you want to listen to last week's show, you can go to Journeys with Joni, that's JONI.com. There you will see all the replays. And you can give us a call at 941-361-1484 if you'd actually like to take that walk and start putting some things down on paper. We've been talking about going back to. So let's go back to writing it down. Let's go back to planning it. Let's go back to, we're going to go back to school. That's what we're going today.
It's always my favorite day of the year, not. But, something comes to my mind as we're tiptoeing into the back to school. And it's, I read somewhere, to know the condition of your flocks. I know we talked about a spending plan last week. And that correlates to know the condition of your assets or the things that you're responsible for. And this really also comes back to the people in our lives that we're accountable for as they're going back to school. And I've got a lot of things that are running through my mind on back to school as we talk about it in today's radio show. But education is a very important aspect of life. Statistically, when you begin to look at things, you see that the better education, the higher impact of earning potential, comes into play.
That's what they say.
And, we have young people that are participating in the educational system and will go on to college next year. And it's, it's getting very interesting. But, there are people listening in this audience that have grandchildren. They have grandnieces and nephews and other relatives that have an opportunity to go to the next level. So even though we're talking about back to school today, I think you can broaden the topic of not just, okay, we're buying crayons and glue today, but we're talking about the change of life as we come to the end of summer. We only have about a month left of summer, but we get into the holiday season and all kind of the things. I don't want to give any, secrets away to what our upcoming topics are going to be in the show. But it's back to school. It's back to that change of we're closing out the vacation season. We've spent the money that we are going to spend on vacation, and it's kind of that, okay, let's buckle down and get back to work mindset.
Right.
And there's a lot that goes into that.
Oh, there is. And, when you say back to school, you know what I picture? I picture the kids standing out front, because we all do this. We all do that photo the first day of school, and they have on new shoes, maybe a new shirt or shorts, maybe the whole outfit's new, a new backpack, new crayons. You don't use last year's crayons. We throw out the old crayons. We buy new crayons. And it's the freshness. That's what I see. It's the new.
Yeah.
Even though it's not really all new, going back to school is not new. They're going back to the same school. They're going to finish out of school. But there's a newness to some of that.
Yeah, last year's behind you.
And it's refreshing. Right, your summer's behind you. It's like, you've had that break. You're refreshed.
And you have a box of crayons that nobody has ever used.
Right.
And then you go, I'm not using this because it's too cool. You know what I remember correlating with this? I remember my grandfather would take me, that was his ritual. My grandfather was a man of very, very, very few words. But his routine was he would always take me back to school shopping. And the reason I liked taking Grandpa, he never told me no. I could have anything I wanted on the list as long as it was on the list. But that was his way of having an impact, and I'll never, ever forget that. And he took the time, took the opportunity to that he shared in that newness every year, and will forever, and he's gone now, but he'll forever be part of that memory that I have of going back to the newness of going back to school and scratching last year's behind us. And now we're looking forward, and we're talking about GPA, we're talking about the grades, we're talking about what we're going to learn. And
we all start out with straight A's.
We do. And we go which way from there.
Right. So it goes back to our planning too, because you start out with a clean slate. When you start out a plan, you start out with a clean slate. So we just start from where we are today. There's nothing in the past to talk about. You know, the decisions that we made before don't matter because we can't change those.
Right.
So when we're talking about going back to budgeting and back to school and back to planning, we're talking about starting today and moving forward.
Right. And you know, what teacher do you know that does not start day one of class with a lesson plan and mapped out the entire year? But when we come to our finances, we just go with it every month.
And your teacher has rules.
Right.
There's consequences to breaking the rules.
Right.
So, you know, you can sort of look at that with your planning process too. Here's our plan. Here's our rules about it. And we can't break the rules because there'll be a consequence to it.
Right. And no matter what, each test is going to be scored. Each test is going to be graded.
Without a doubt.
And your results are going to be what effort you put in. I've said this before, actions speak louder than words. If you ask my kids, you know, what does Dad always say? That's my saying. And at the end of the day, you get out of it what you invest into it. Same thing with planning. Yet we take the planning and the budgeting and that concept, and we never start fresh again. We're on this treadmill. Last week I talked about the definition of insanity. We're on this insane treadmill that we continue to do the same things over and over again. And it's, you know, this is a great time. If you wait to the beginning of the year, we talked about this a couple shows ago, even when we were talking about tax planning. If you wait to the end of the year, oftentimes it's too late to make an impact in the current tax year. Right. Now is the time for that back to that first. You got that brand new box of crayons. What are you going to do with it?
Got to start drawing.
I'm going to start drawing. I'm going to use those brand new boxes of crayons to make a positive picture on this year going forward. So I know we're up against the break. People can find us. How can they find us?
You can find us. We're located at 6230 University Parkway, Suite 305. That's in the Home Bank building there at University and I-75 area. You can give us a call at 941-361-1484. You can visit us at Journeys with Joni, that's JONI.com, where you can find replays of our previous shows. Journeys with Joni. We'll be right back.
Do you know what you own and why you own it? Join us for our next workshop to learn about investing with clarity by calling 941-361-1484 to reserve your seat today. Joni and Mark look forward to discussing the philosophy, strategy, flexibility, and transparency, the 4 pillars of investing, with NEPSIS Advisor Services. Call today, 941-361-1484. That's 941-361-1484.
Welcome back to Journeys with Joni. Just before the break, Mark and I were discussing the newness of this new school year, going back to school. The new crayons. I know. Can you smell those?
I can.
I mean, actually, after we were talking about that, I was like, I can almost smell the wax.
Yeah, we can date ourselves and talk about those new pencils. And you go to the pencil sharpener. You always had the kid that went the first day of school, and he'd be a smarty pants, and he'd go up there and grind his brand new pencil all the way down to the stub and turn around and go, look what I just did. But, you know, we didn't have the electric pencil sharpener back then. We hand crank it.
Hand crank it. Yeah, those are the days,
and
though.
The new bottles of glue and all the boxes of tissue that you brought into the first day of school. And for the kindergartners, all the mommies that are crying at the first day. And
the mats that used to take naps on.
Yeah.
We need to have put some mats in our office so we can take an afternoon nap.
I could use a nap now. I'm just kidding. You know, and I have daughters who are in the next few years will be facing, you know, the my grandkids, their kids, at the first day of school, and there's nothing like that fresh start. There's nothing like the opportunity to say, we're all even.
Yep.
And we all have an opportunity to do well, to succeed, to make a success story out of this year.
Right, because the past is the past. So what you did last year is over. We have a brand new year, and you can start all over. We all start out with straight A's in school.
Right.
All of our kids have the same opportunities as everybody else, and it's their decision to make the right choices to get the grades and the things that they need to do. And, you and I spent a lot of time over the summer because we both have one going into their senior year of high school, and we're looking at colleges. And I got to tell you something. I did some college planning, but boy, oh boy, those price tags. And, it's really sort of funny, but it's not funny. The schools that actually I like the most were the schools that are probably more expensive. It's like, okay, remember, I just remember my parents always telling me that I always had champagne taste and a beer budget. Yeah. And I think it's still true because I look at the colleges that, I'd love to send my child to, and, it's a champagne taste.
Yeah, well.
And even if you had champagne to pay, even if I had the money to pay for the champagne, do I really need to pay for that champagne, or would he be just as good at going to a school that was equivalent to a beer budget? So, there's a lot of choices out there. I think that's what really was very overwhelming. I'm sure it was overwhelming for my son to look at all the choices and stuff, but, it was overwhelming for me too. Because he's looking at, the pavement and the girls, and he's looking at the dorms and, the football field and the weight sets and all that kind of stuff. And I'm looking at, well, here's the technology that it's going to cost me all this, and how much does that food plan cost, and how long does he have to stay in a dorm, and how much is that, and how many people can we put in one room, and all those kind of things. So, he's looking at one thing and I'm looking at another.
It is crazy, all the choices. And how do you sift through it?
I'm not really quite sure. I'm sure though, but a year from now, we could probably have a show on how to survive that.
We can, yes.
And if anybody out there knows how to get us through it, we'd appreciate a call.
Well, I know the number one thing will be our knees, our pants where our knees are. Will have worn spots from all the prayers we'll be having over the next year about this. But there's a lot that goes into the decision.
There's a lot of planning, but it goes back to also some planning. You had to budget for the school trips over the summer to do that.
Right. You
have to budget for those kind of things that you're thinking about, the schools you're putting in. And you have to do some planning. And, we all did some planning ahead of time. There's all these different things that we can do as parents to do, the Florida prepaid,
right.
The 529 savings plans where people can make contributions to. But, there's also the grants and the scholarships and the things that the kids can be doing. So there is a buffet of things to do.
And if you hope that, if you live on the hope bus, then you hope that you're going to have money when it gets time to go. You're probably going to be sadly disappointed. You've
Correct.
got to be proactive. This is one of the things where you have to buck up, stand up, own it, and begin to put some plans in place to make you got to take the action to get the results. It's coming back to what, like we talked about in the last segment of the show, day one of school, we have an opportunity to invest in the educational process. Parents, grandparents
too. So
got the opportunity now.
So it's one of those things where, it's another thing about knowing what you want, knowing what your goals are, and then letting people know what those goals are. So, if you're a grandparent and you've got grandkids, you need to sort of be listening to where they want to go and what they need to do. And maybe there's some opportunities there for you to make a difference in somebody else's life.
Yeah, we've talked to a lot of people about estate planning over the past year. Mm-hmm. And estate planning is often thought about of, when I leave this earth, who is going to be steward over the monies or resources I've left behind? Well, this is an area, back to school, this is an area that, you can make an impact today while you're still, where you still have an opportunity to not only make a financial impact, but to make a personal impact in the young person's life that you have, much like my grandpa did, of even buying school supplies.
Right.
And so, grandparents, you have an opportunity. And I can't think of a single thing that you can invest in more than the young people in your life. If you help them out with an educational process and a plan that they're adhering to, yes, they have to have boundaries and rules, but opposed to leaving them X dollars when you pass away, I would take the early part, making an impact on the education as we go back to school, than to leave them something in perpetuity, when I'm gone. Well,
and it's like the Bible story about, giving them fish to eat or teaching them how to fish.
Yep. That's so true.
You can buy the kids the stuff and you can give them everything that you have, but if you don't teach them how to fish, if you don't teach them how to go to school and learn it, get a job and do those things to better themselves, then you're not helping them. So what a great legacy to leave. Not only can you leave them some of your assets that you leave, but you can leave them better off because of the things that you did while you were alive.
So as we continue with this back to, and I know we're almost out of time on today's show, as we continue with this back to theme. Oh, I'm not paying attention. We're in the middle of the show, aren't we? As we continue this back to theme, Joni's shaking her head at me. I'm so excited. I'm thinking we're done. But as we continue this back to theme, I would challenge people that, this is your opportunity to go back to the plan, back to the budget, back to making an actionable plan that you can now control. We talked about this earlier, not being the tail wagging the dog. You want to be the dog wagging the tail.
Right.
So I think we got a lot of opportunity in front of us.
Get on that bus.
Absolutely. Take action.
Yeah, take action. Do something. We would really like to help you out if you'd like to do that too. You can reach us at Journeys with Joni. That's JONI.com. 361-1484. Come on in and sit down with us, and we'll put some pencil to the paper, or we can actually buy some crayons.
Brand new crayons,
and put a plan together and talk about it. So we'd love to do that with you if you'd like to. Journeys with Joni. We'll be right back.
Do you know what you own and why you own it? Join us for our next workshop to learn about investing with clarity by calling 941-361-1484 to reserve your seat today. Joni and Mark look forward to discussing the philosophy, strategy, flexibility, and transparency, the 4 pillars of investing, with NEPSIS Advisor Services. Call today, 941-361-1484. That's 941-361-1484.
Welcome back to Journeys with Joni. Just before the break, Mark and I were talking about back to school, back to putting a plan together. And actually I said, let's get on the bus.
Yeah, get on the bus.
The kids got on school buses this morning. It's actually first day of school for some kids, sadly for some, and awesome for some of us moms, put our kids back in school. But journeyswithjoni.com is where you can go to look at our quarterly updates. You can look at our workshop schedule. You can get some information about Mark and I. You can send us an email.
See our pictures. We're good looking.
Not touching that. And you can give us a call at 361-1484.
There's a couple more jokes in there. We're perfect for radio. We're good looking enough to be on radio.
That's true.
Get a face for radio. Anyway.
That's what I always tell you. I've got to go do my hair before you get on the radio.
Yeah. The point is, life's too short. You got to have fun with it, right?
Absolutely. Sending the kids back to school makes it fun for some moms and dads, doesn't it?
Well, it does. I'm not going to try to make you cry here, but I just realized this. This is our last first day of school. Your youngest is done. Thank God my wife is not here, because she'd be crying, and yeah, she would. As we think about this, the time that we've invested, and we said this earlier in the show. We said it last week as well. That tree that was planted some time ago.
Right.
The shade is here today for ours to go to college and go to the next level as we finish our senior year of high school. But those actions that we took earlier, historically, the thought comes to my mind, you cannot live life looking in the rearview mirror. If you're driving down the road, you better be looking down through the windshield down the road.
Absolutely.
You can't look in that rearview mirror. You might glance there to remind yourself where you've been. And in some cases, you want to look to remind yourself where not to go back to.
Or I want to see who's going to catch up with me.
Nobody's catching me. I got the hammer down, and I'm rocking. There's another story in there. You never want to be. I got an email that told me my car insurance rates are going down. Those, I don't know how much. I was scared to look, but I don't care if it's 5 cents. It's going down. I feel successful. But I do have the hammer down, and we're going forward. And as you think about the things as you plan, as we go back to, We've talked about that new box of crayons with the new glue, all those, the new stuff as you walk in the first day. Nobody's touched any of the supplies, and you put everything away in your desk, and all of those things that are in your memory. That's where you are in your financial planning today, and in your budgeting planning, and you're back to. And if you're choosing not to look in the rearview mirror and own those things we all have them, that you go, man, I'm tired of this happening over and over and over again. The refrigerator breaks, or something happens, and or somebody asks me for money. You talked about that. Yes, you're the person that has money, but you're going to have limits and boundaries to the spending decisions you're going to make. Today's the first day. Make a decision to move forward. Yeah,
and we've got to teach our kids by, they don't listen to what we say. They watch what we do.
Right.
So if you're saying, no, we can't do this, and you're doing other stuff, you're not teaching them that lesson.
Right.
So, it's very important that we write down, what our plans are. I mean, share it with your spouse. You can share it with your kids. I mean, I've shared some of that stuff with my kids because, as a single mom, it's like, it's just my income, guys. There's nothing else out there. So if it's not in my paycheck, it's not happening. So we got to understand why we're doing some of the things we're doing. Sometimes it's just because mom said so. But a lot of times there's a reason behind it. And if you teach them some of that stuff and you walk that walk, and they can watch you do some of the things that you're doing, and then you can bring it back to, well, you remember how we didn't do X? This is why, because now we're doing this. And then they understand those kind of things, because it's really about, you and I both have talked about this. It's really about leaving something back behind us that's better than what we had.
Right.
And, we had really good childhood. I mean, we grew up in a, an economy that was pretty good, and we didn't want for anything. I mean, if you go back to our grandparents, they worried about milk and all that kind of stuff. We've never worried about anything.
No, we haven't.
And our kids haven't really worried about anything.
That's for sure.
But there may come a time when they will have to worry, and if we're not preparing them, then we're not doing our part. So, back to school, the teachers are teaching them stuff, but you know what? We're teaching them stuff on a daily basis too.
Yes, we are. And you can do this. You have the ability. You are the author of your story, and you have the ability to take ownership of the actions that you have the we all have it's like the first day of school. We all have the opportunity to have that first day of school. The question is, what are we going to do day 2, day 3, and day 4? And we're going to make that decision on day 1 to make an impact. And if I'm going to make the decisions and take the actions on those decisions, I know when I get to the goal line, whatever that goal line is, I'm going to turn around and be very happy at myself for the work and the effort that I put into it. And we all know the feeling, whether it's you've won a board game or you've actually won something at work, or I'm not saying go out and play the lottery, but you've done something where you've achieved success, and you look back and you go, man, that felt really good. Everybody wants to be a winner.
I mean, you think about football games or baseball games when, you win the game, and all the kids getting together and cheering and jumping on top of each other, the energy that's in that room.
Right.
Or out on that football field or that baseball field.
Right.
It's awesome.
You look at take the Rays. I love baseball, and I know you're more of a football family, and your boys love the Yankees, and they're constantly harassing me between the Yankees and the Rays.
Oh, yeah.
And the sad fact is that in a blind survey, 73% of all Major League Baseball players blindly say they would want to play for the Yankees. Now,
they're smart.
Yeah, they're smart. Okay, they're smart. But the point is, they want a better chance at success of winning a World Series championship. And the odds are greater if you're on a winning team.
Right.
My challenge to you is you're on the winning team. Take the positive actions. It's back to school. You have an opportunity to impact your grandkids, impact your kids, impact yourself. It's never too late to make a difference. And if you're looking for shade that you're not seeing today, well, it's time to plant the tree today so that when you do need that shade, it's available for you.
And as you help your kids, your family, you're helping the community. And you're leaving the world a better place.
So, see, the glass really is half full.
Always half full.
I love it. Life's too short. You got to have fun with it, and you got to have a plan. And I love winning. So, there's a great opportunity to come kick the tires, see if you would like to work with Joni and myself. We have fun doing it.
Can we stop at the store on the way back to the office and buy some crayons?
Why not?
Well, thank you for sharing your time with us today. We surely hope that you learned something new. If you missed any portion of this or any other show, go to Journeys with Joni, that's JONI.com, where you can find a replay of all of our shows, our workshop dates, send us an email, and read our quarterly reports. Journeys with Joni will be back next week. Until then, thanks for listening.
This program is for informational and educational purposes only. This program is not a solicitation or recommendation for any investment or security. Investments or securities mentioned in this show may or may not be owned by NEPSIS Advisor Services. NEPSIS Advisor Services is an SEC-registered investment advisor.